Hello guys, this is Bryant Tubbs coming at you with another video. Today is going to be a pretty quick video. Maybe maybe 2-3 videos ago I was telling you guys about the metal art sculpture bench that I was making for a guy that put in a commission. And I just wanted to show you guys kind of where I'm at, at this point. So as you can see up on the table, this is will be the back rest, as they call it. So when you're sitting on the bench, you lean back, your back will be against this portion. I made these donuts. All the inside of this, all the vertical bars, the donuts are stainless steel, but this top bar and the bottom bar is steel, just mild steel. And then if you can see on this portion, all of this, the outer perimeter, is mild steel, and the slats on the inside, all this is stainless steel. So, and of course this will be, I think this is the front and this is the back. So this piece will be sitting on this portion back here, rising up off of this back portion here. And in order to brace the two pieces, I came up with some legs for it. I'll let you see these. And this is what the legs will look like. This is the bottom portion, so it'll sit on the ground on this portion. And then I have marked in here where this portion will be mounted in here. So if you're looking at the front of the bench, from the front, this portion will be mounted on the inside of this, and then this angled portion here will be resting on the front, on the back edges of this frame. And so today, as you can see, there's 10 degrees coming this way, and then another 10 degrees going this way, and then there's a flat section here. Because what I wanted is so right now, the bench, from this point to this point on the outer edges here, 18 inches. I wanted to extend the rear legs back just a little bit, kind of sweep them back a little bit. So if someone is kind of rushing to sit down and they sit on the bench won't tip back. It won't, tip backwards. But having just a leg on the rear of the bench going straight up and down, and then having a 10 degree slope on top, you already have some weight coming off the back of the bench in the first place. And then if they put their body weight on that bench could tip. So to kind of offset that, like I said, this is flat, 10 degrees on the bottom. So this will help counter that possible tipping over or tipping backwards by doing the legs like this. Most well-made benches that you buy, from a store, manufacturer, whomever, will have a slight degree of back angle on the rear leg of the bench, just to keep from that happening, that bench tipping back. Your less expensive benches will sometimes have straight legs. So if someone sits on that, they could go back. So today, although I showed you, the pieces of the bench, I'm going to be more focused on how I did this, because this is a square tube, and I'll show you guys, how I did this. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, guys. Hopefully you can see this, but this is the leg with the 10 degree bend to it. So now I'm gonna show you guys how I did this. I mean, it's pretty simple. So what I did was just took a straight square tube, and I kind of did some kind of guesswork. I didn't use any particular difficult math or anything like that. I had a test piece, and I figured if I cut, well, let me get this other piece so you can see. Okay, guys, as you can see, I brought in another piece of tubing, square tubing. This is the tubing that I used for my test piece, because I did not want to use the actual pieces I'm going to use on the bench as a test piece. Now, although from this point down, I will be using this for the front legs and the arm portions. But I use enough on the top portion to make my tests, and I have measured everything else out so I can still use this on the bench. But just this portion, I just didn't feel I needed to use I wasn't going to use on the bench. So what I did was I just kind of guessed, because the way I did this, the first time was I just did like a 1/2 inch pie cut. So on the bottom portion of the tubing, I just made a straight cut on with my chop saw. Then I made a pie cut on the upper portion. So I left this the same, but I made my pie cut on this upper portion here, about a 1/2 inch from where I used my chop saw to get this straight line. I cut the pie cut to a 1/2 inch because I was going to go with a 15 inch or 15 degree tilt back, but I said no, I just didn't feel that would be necessary. So I went driving around and saw this one bench at a hotel. Doesn't look anything like ours, but I went and I sat on the bench, and I took my angle finder, this one, and I took this one. I laid this on the seat of the bench. It was a wood bench. It had all these different designs, and I wasn't interested in any of that. But the thing was that the bench seat was flat, perfectly level, and the seat, the bench seating portion was flat, but the back angle, it had a back angle on it. So when I sat on it, it was really comfortable. So I took this, laid it on the seat, then I took this and laid it back until it found the angle of that seat back. And according to AI, between a 10 and 15 degree seat back angle is, perfect. It takes the stress off your lower spine, off your shoulders, and all that other stuff it was talking about. So that seat back was 10 degrees, and it felt really good. I didn't feel like I was almost, laying down like in a recline position. So it was just enough tilt to feel very comfortable. So I decided to go with a 10 degree. So I locked that in, and then I took this and put this on the bench as well and lock this in, and it came out at 10 degrees. I just want to be sure because I got this from Harbor Freight. Home Depot sells these, but I got this one from Harbor Freight, and I just want to be sure that, sure as possible that my degree on this angle was basically the same as the one on this angle. So if they're off, that's not my fault. It's whoever makes these for Harbor Freight. But it was close enough. So I used both of these angle finders to get my degree. And then on that same bench, it had a leg sweep going back, and it was about the same as the upper bench back sweep. And so I measured that out, and that was right around 10 degrees. So I said, okay, I'll let this be my, the model that I use. And I'll put a picture up of that bench just so you guys can see it, the one I'm talking about. And so I just used this, the angle degree that they use on that bench because it felt so comfortable. I've sat on a lot of benches while, doing this project because I just wanted to find a bench that really felt comfortable to me. And a lot of them just didn't feel that comfortable. The back of it was rolled and all these other crazy things. So I just had not found a bench that was, really suitable for what I wanted to do until Sunday. I came across that bench. And so what I did was I just cut a 1/2-inch pie shape. But when I bent this pie shape, with this bottom portion being straight and this upper portion having the pie shape, when I bent it, I'll see if I can bend it. Yep, I was able to bend it. Now it has a nice, bend to it and everything. Everything fits up. It's not one not overhanging the other. But I noticed on the back side here, in the bend, this upper portion sat higher than the lower portion. And I figured it out that since I cut this straight, cut this on a pie, this had to do all the travel from up here down here. So as I was bending it, it went past. Let me get something so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to clamp this down. So I want to see if you might be able to hear it better than you can see it. So if I come up with this piece and they're touching, and that's right in this seam here, you can hear that. It won't go past that point because this point is sitting higher than this point. It's actually sitting the thickness of the pipe of the inner wall above this piece. So if you were to weld that up, you grinded it down, you're going to have a high spot there. You will be able to see it. The only way you won't be able to see it is you're going to have to put a lot of weld out in this area here, fill all that in with weld, and then try and blend that in. Waste of time, waste of material. So I said, well, that's not going to work just because of that. But now coming down, no problem. It will just slide right down. But going up, it hits that high spot. So I said, okay, well, that's not going to work. So what I came up with was, as opposed to just cutting the pie shape on the upper portion, I said, let me cut the pie shape on the upper and lower. So I went with, what was it, a 1/4 inch on the upper portion and a 1/4 inch on the lower portion, just to split that 1/2 inch. Made my cut with the chop saw in here. Put a 1/4 inch line here and a 1/4 inch line. Made my cut with the chop saw. Made a 1/4 inch line here with a marker. 1/4 inch line on the lower portion with a marker. Got my my cutoff wheel, my hand cutoff wheel. I put a piece of metal on here to guide my cutoff wheel. So I'll make a straight line. Made a straight line there. Moved it down to the lower portion. Made a straight line. Cut into it straight. And then I turned this over. And from where the cutoff wheel had cut into the metal, I just took a line and just drew it from there down to the very end here on both sides, all around. Then I just took my cutoff wheel and just followed that line down, you know, just to make my lines pretty good. And then after that, I just took after I make the cuts, I took my grinder, with just a flat disc, put in there, and just grinded all the walls smooth. And I figured that if I had overcut, that would be okay, because I knew that I wouldn't overcut by that much. And so once I bent this, let me go and make the bend so you guys can see. Once I bent that 1/2 inch piece, when I put my angle finder in, I was beyond 10 degrees. But again, guys, I was testing just to see. But when I put the angle finder in, I was somewhere closer to 15 degrees than 10 degrees. So when I looked at the 15 degree angle, I said, nah, that's just too much. So what I did was I said, let's take it from a 1/2 inch down to a 1/4 inch gap. So, and I think it was on this one I made that 1/2 inch, but on this one, I did a 1/4 inch gap. So I, cut it down the center with my chop saw, came on this side, made it 1/8 mark, 1/8 inch mark. And then on this side, a 1/8 inch mark here. Took my my hand cutoff wheel, cut that line in straight. Did my V cut going down. And then when I put this together, it came in really close to 10 degrees. And I was able to put my put this guy in there, and it was really close to 10 degrees. And so I was able to just take my flat disc on my grinder and go in and just kind of clean things up a little bit. And then when after I did that and made the bend again, it was right at 10 degrees. And that's how I came up with this. So I took my TIG welder and just tacked it, because I was working on just this upper portion. This lower portion was still straight. I tacked that up, and then I decided to go ahead and just weld the whole thing up, both sides, all around, grinded it down. And on the front, this is still just, just the parent metal. I never cut into this front portion, just the pie cut on the back side, on the sides. I never touched this front. And so, once I was satisfied with that, I said I want 10 degrees on the back side. So I went ahead and cut a 1/4 inch pie shape out of that, cleaned it all up, closed it down, and it came out right at 10 degrees. So this is where I am now. I will be doing the same thing with this one as I did with that one. So I use my test piece to find what I needed. And even on this piece, when I bend it, I may need to, do a little cleanup to get it right at where I want it to be. Because both of these pieces has to be identical. One can't be at, 11 degrees or 9 degrees, and this one's at 10. No, they have to be, the same. So let me go ahead and move this piece out of the way. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so I'm back. If you can see, on this table, I have a chalk line. This is pretty close to 10 degrees on this line here. I'm working from this line going up. So hopefully you guys can see that. So what I'm going to do, this is the bottom of the leg. This is the top. Now what I thought about doing at first was making my pie cuts and then bending the tube this way and then cutting a piece of metal in a pie shape to fill that in and then weld everything in, and blend everything in. It probably, I was going to say it probably would have been easier, but then probably not, because I would have had just more welding to do and more grinding and then trying to blend everything in. So it probably came out easier doing it this way, probably. So for you guys that may think of doing this and just cutting your, because you really, if you're going to bend it the opposite way, you would not need to cut a pie shape in. You would just cut a straight line, put it on your chop saw, whatever you have, just cut a straight line, make your bend, and then you would automatically create a pie shape. Then you have to do your measurements, get a piece of metal that will fit in there, tack it in, and then weld the whole thing up on both sides, this side and this side. It just depends on what you're doing. If you didn't want 2 10-degree angles, you just wanted the one, you would just work on this section here. So, and that on a scrap piece, that is how I first came up with that 1/2 inch opening. It wasn't just a guess. I took a piece, cut a slit in it, and I bent it this way. And when I reached 10 degrees, because what I did was I set this angle finder to right to 10 degrees. So I set it right to the 10-degree mark, put it on here, bent this piece until it reached the 10-degree mark. Then I got my ruler, just a regular wooden ruler, measured that gap, and it came out to be about a 1/2 inch, which was a little bit too much, but that's just the way it came out. So when I got that gap, I said, okay, because I was going to do it the opposite way. But then I said that'd be a lot of weld, and it would not be as strong, because when they're sitting down, if I welded this, when they sit, it's going to be constantly be fighting against those welds. So I figured if I do it this way, when I close it up, it's just metal, fighting against itself. You just weld it. So there's no stress on the welds because the piece is resting on itself. And so when I close it back this way, like I said, it was a little bit, it was beyond 10 degrees. It was closer to like 15 degrees. And so that's when I said, well, a ½ inch is going to be too much. So that's when I tried, the 1/4 inch. And the 1/4 inch might not be exact, but I was able to kind of clean up in here until I got it to where I want it. So I'll just kind of show you guys just how I set this thing up. And again, this is the lower portion. This will be on the ground. This is the upper portion. So I have the pie cut here. I have my line here inside of this trace out. I'm gonna put the center of this pie shape on that line. Then I'm gonna try and lay it in these chalk marks as best I can. And then I'm gonna take my my clamps and clamp everything down. Actually, I'm going to clamp it here because I don't want this to move. So I'll put this here. I'll clamp this down. Then I'll get my other clamp. Clamp it on the rear because I clamp it on the rear because I don't want this to move. I mean, it might move some, but just don't want too much movement here. And I'm trying to get that line, this pie-shaped line, right on top of the line on the table. And I learned that from the last bend I made. I had to make some adjustments. So I'm just clamping this down pretty good. And then behind this portion that's cut, because I have, like I said, as you saw, there's 2 pie cuts. I'm going to take one of my adjustable stops, put in this hole. I'm going to lock it against the piece that's in between the 2 pie cuts, because when I bend this, I don't want this lower portion to bend with it. I just want this upper portion to bend, so I'll just kind of lock this portion into place. And then I'm going to just do a little bend, and once I bend it, I'll take this adjustable stop and lock it against that, and then I'll be able to go in and get my my measurement of degree just to see where I'm at. So I'm going to try and bend it. And I'll just take this and just see what I need to do here. I'm gonna put this on 10 degrees. All right, that's right about 10 degrees. I'll set it on here. And I need to just clean that out just a little bit more. I am really, really, really close. Really close. So what that means, I'm a little bit shy. I'm not quite at 10 degrees. I'm probably at maybe 8 degrees. I'm going to have to just clean some of this out. Just a little bit more, not much, just a little bit more until I get to that 10 degree mark. Because on this one, it's laying completely flat. Both angles are laying completely flat on this piece, but on this piece, there's a little bit of space in there. So that means it has to be cut back a little bit. So let me make a slight adjustment here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, guys, I have my face shield on. I'm just gonna go in here, clean it up here, and here. You know, maybe I'll do that first. But I'm not doing much, just a little bit. Now what I'll do is I'll take and turn it around. I'm working on the same side, which is here. Okay, and if you guys can see this, I'm using a flat disc. I'm not using a flap disc, but a flat disc. By using this flat disc, I can get in there in these areas easier than trying to stick this large thing in there, trying to do the angles. Using a flap disc will open the area up too much, and trying to get this has an angle on it. These are, I think it's a T29. So it has a slight taper to it. I think it's a T27 is more flat. But this is a T29, so it has a slight angle to it. And trying to get in there with these is just more difficult. So if you can get a flat grinding disc as opposed to that flap, you'll be better off when you do this. And I got these backers. You can get them from Harbor Freight or any, your welding supply stores. You can get them from there as well. All right, so let me clamp everything back down. And I might have to do that again because I'm just taking out really. I might have to do that again because I'm just taking out really small amounts each time. So you gotta be patient when you do this. And I'm sure I know without doubt there are other ways to, make a pie cut, do what I'm doing. But this is just something that's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. That that you guys can do. There are other tools out there, but you may not have the tool. So this is just, right off the cuff, right here at home. Little stuff I have, I have a cutoff wheel. If you get a cutoff wheel, you can do it. You don't have to have a chop saw. Just cut your line straight. All right, let me see here. Okay, I need just a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do now is just focus my grinding on the upper. I don't want to go down lower because that gap is opening up more on the bottom. So I need to just focus on the upper section here. And probably, I don't know, maybe another 1/16 of an inch will do it. And on the back side, everything is nice and smooth. One is not overlapping the other. So it'll be just a little bit more grinding. I'm gonna turn it around. Just do this other side. Not getting too confused. Just gotta keep my focus on which one I'm working on. All right, now that should do it. But let me see what I've got here. Trying to get all the debris off the table. If you don't have a fixture table, guys, you just figure out your way to lock everything down, and just do what you do. I'm just trying to get this to lock in straight. It's just one little floating piece here. Now I can lock this down. Go and do my bend and get my angle of degree. And that's right on. Right on. There's no daylight coming through there at all. So that's right on right there. So now it'll just be a matter, just putting a tack here, flipping it over, putting a tack on the other side. But what I also do before I tack it, I will lock this in down to the table, because I don't want this to be raised up and I don't see it. So I'll lock that in down to the table, and then I'll tack. All right, guys, so that's how I was able to get this angle using these two tools. And it's pretty straightforward, once you get the gist of how to do it. So hopefully that helped you. So whether you're making a bench or some other sculpture and you just want to have a bend in your metal, your square tube, you can do this with round tube. It doesn't matter. But that's what you do. Just cut your pie shapes in, do your measurements, get your pie shape in, and just, tack it up good. Make sure everything is flat and everything. And either you take weld it or you make weld it and get your grinder out and start grinding. Because when I finish with this, I don't want any seams. Because if you look at it now, there are no seams you won't see any seams in this at all, period. You see, you got your flat line here and here, and you have a slight flat line here and here, but it's supposed to be there because that's going to fit inside of that area on the bench seat. So that's supposed to be there. But as far as any separation where I did the welding of the pieces together, none of that is there. So when you weld this and when you weld this and start grinding it, don't put a lot of pressure on the parent metal. You're just taking the cap off or the crown off of the weld, and then you get like maybe an 80 grit, knock it down a little bit more, and then you get like a 120, and use your 120 to blend everything in. And for me, as you can see, I have my sander or finisher. So I'm putting a brush finish on everything. So this is what I'm using to get the brush finish, is this guy. You can get these at Harbor Freight. This is a Bauer, but what they have now are the blue Hercules. Same thing. So I just take this, put on the tubing, just go back and forth, just smoothing everything out. And this shiny area here, that'll blend in, that'll get the brush marks as well. And so it'll look like it came from the factory like that. And so guys, like I said, that's gonna do it for this one. But now hopefully you have a few more tools in your quiver that you can use when needed. And I hope to see you on the next video. I'm not sure what I'll be doing. I may be finishing up this bench, but knowing me, it could be something totally different. I don't know. But all right, guys, that's going to do it. And like I said, I hope to see you in the next one. And as usual, peace out.